Hey guys, just a quick note before the video starts. As you will probably notice, this is a re-upload of an old video. I don't know which one it is because I'm leaving this same tag in front of all of them. As you guys know, I've just recently started the Flix series with Kristen, and that's going to be the umbrella that we put all the movie reviews under. So in the meantime, I've gone back in the history of this channel to pull out all the old movie reviews that we have done. Now, obviously, they were done at that time. Any references may be a little bit out of date. They will be very obviously done at the time that those movies were relevant, but I've tidied them up a little bit, I've edited them up a little bit, I've tried to make the sound a little bit better, because on a couple of them the sound was really bad. I hope you enjoy. Please excuse the fact that they may be incredibly out of date, and hopefully something new will come along very soon. Enjoy the video, guys. What's going on, everybody? And I just about did my wrestling intro, even though this isn't a wrestling video, but I'm here, we're doing Marvel stuff, so Kristen's here. Kristen, say what's up.
Hey, what's up, guys?
As we said before we came on the air, first video in a while you've done with me on subject matter that you're actually excited about.
This is true.
Wrestling is letting you down a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. It could be better.
Well, okay. Now you're being nice for reasons unknown.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying to be positive about things.
But yeah, so anybody that's watching this channel knows that myself and Kristen, we occasionally dip out of the wrestling realm into the movie realm, which is really just into the Marvel realm. I think we did like Jurassic World, and then everything else has been Marvel, I think.
Yeah.
But I mean, we managed to hit a niche, and it's all good. We did Black Panther. We did that ridiculous video where it was like we reviewed every Marvel movie from Iron Man to Infinity War, cause that was smart, and we just didn't need sleep that night, apparently.
Yeah, that was crazy of us.
I go back and listen to it sometimes. It's good, and we both sound very tired.
Especially near the end.
Well, at the end, we're literally joking about how tired we are.
Mm-hmm.
But we never got around to doing an Endgame review, and
it was awesome. End of story.
It was. There were problematic elements of it that I'm going to get yelled at on Twitter about, and we also didn't get to really do...
I disagree, sir.
What?
Oh, there were problematic elements.
The way they handled Thor's PTSD was bullshit.
I don't believe that at all.
Okay, Thor's PTSD after Infinity War, or Tony Stark's PTSD after the Battle of New York.
People have different kinds of PTSD, dude.
Yeah, and nobody's PTSD should be played off for laughs, is my point. Anyways, and the feminist selfie at the end that we don't need to talk about. Also,
I love the feminist thing at the end. Everybody, lost their mind about that. I love that.
I didn't lose my mind about it. I'm very collected about it. I just thought it was dumb.
I liked it because of the fact that everyone always talks, everybody's big sticking point, especially after Wonder Woman came out, is, there's not a lot of female Marvel heroes in the MCU, and this showcased how many there actually are.
But see, that's the antithesis of the point. The people that watch Wonder Woman, and yes, I agree, when we got Captain Marvel did not do what Wonder Woman did, in my personal opinion. But in general,
I agree. I wanted to like Wonder Woman. I wanted to like Captain Marvel a lot more than I actually did. It wasn't bad. It's just I feel like I was let down because I thought there'd be something bigger or something.
I literally had this conversation today with somebody at work. I don't dislike Captain Marvel, the character. I don't dislike Brie Larson. I think she did great. I think everything that happened around her was lame. I think instead of putting her up, they put her up by making everybody else around her just a bit lame, and that comes off as really lazy, and I don't think the comedy landed, and like I said, I wasn't going in there like full SJW mode, but I wanted to come out of that the same way I came out of Wonder Woman, because Wonder Woman was sort of a tentpole moment for female comic movies, and I mean, Gal Gadot gets a lot of credit for that. It's the only DC movie that didn't get slated by all the critics. And I wanted that for Captain Marvel, and I didn't get it.
But the female characters within the MCU in general, whether you're talking about Valkyrie on Asgard, whether you're talking about the female army in Wakanda, whether you're talking about Black Widow, who's been a badass from the start, Scarlet Witch, who's awesome, Captain Marvel, who is an awesome character in a shit movie, like, they're all already great. The thing that bugs me about the end of Endgame is that's the kind of thing you do when you're not sure you're... Okay, I'm going to use a wrestling term here, but that's what you do when you're not sure if your characters are getting over, and they're already awesome. And it just seemed really tacked on. It's not because I don't like the characters that I didn't like that scene. It's because I do like the characters that I didn't like that scene, if that makes sense. And I know not everybody agrees with that, and that's fine.
It makes. I don't agree with it, but it makes sense.
Yeah, because even within that movie itself, the women had already had some pretty badass moments. Like in the fallout from the snap, Black Widow basically took over the Avengers, which is badass. And I mean that's going to lead into her prequel movie that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I don't think like they'd done such a good job. It's almost like they doubted the good job that they had already done. And, I'm sorry, Pepper Potts as Rescue, no.
I mean, that's a thing in the comics, though.
I know, but they haven't built her up as a badass in the cinematic universe. If they had done it...
She was a badass in Iron Man 3.
Yeah,
I know that's not one everybody goes back to, but she's worn the suit before. She wore it in Iron Man 3.
Right, and what I would say really really good is with Gwyneth Paltrow playing the Pepper Potts character, she played the whole like almost fish out of water in the moments where she was wearing the suit, and I think she played that really well. But you can't take that and then add 5 years of her husband even deciding that he's not Iron Man anymore to all of a sudden she's totally at home in the suit. I just don't think there's a continuity there. If they had built her up, and I'm going to say this about one of the new movies that's coming out too, so get ready to disagree with me all over again. But if you're going to play her off as sort of fish out of water on the battlefield side of things, you can't all of a sudden... And this is... I
don't think she's going to be a thing where, like, she is an Avenger now. Like, I do not believe, and I wouldn't want there to be that. Did I miss? Sorry, I'm also trying to crochet while we do this, so I missed the stitch.
Nice. I
don't think it's gonna be like, and then the next Avengers movie, Gwyneth Paltrow is
Iron Woman
Rescue. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen, and I think it would be very bullshitty if it did. I feel like the only reason she came in because it was like, this is a fucking world-ending event.
Right. No, and I get the all-hands-on-deck mentality. That I do understand. Everybody should be picking up their rocks, their sticks, their shields, anything they can get their hand on. I just... Even within that scenario, I think you can still show who is sort of like the weathered, experienced warriors and who is... just literally picking up a rock and trying to do their part. And that's not to put the character down, because like I said, when she did it before, and it was very out of place for her, she played, Gwyneth Paltrow played that out of place character really well, and I think they went back on that. And I think that sends not a mixed message, but I can't think of any better way to say it.
I also think, I mean, aside from, I thought her armor looked badass, anyways, aside from that, I also think it may have been a way to have her on the back. Can we do spoilers? I know it's been out for a while, but still, everybody's very sensitive about spoilers.
I'll be a little more careful when we talk about what's it called, Far From Home, than I am about this, because at this point, if you haven't seen it, you've seen spoilers.
So, by the way, giant spoiler. When Tony dies at the end, I think they wanted her there because she was the main reason he came back. And there's really no other reason for her to be out there on the battlefield other than she's out there on the battlefield as rescue.
And you know what? I'll give you that. That's a fair point. I really will. I do love... when we did...
Because she doesn't actually get showcased all that much during the battle. She gets showcased when all the women are there. She gets.
She sticks her.
She gets.
She's the person when everybody else is getting a selfie and the room is full. She just sort of sticks her head in so that she's in the shot.
Yeah,
I'm an asshole.
She has a quick scene with Iron Man doing Iron Man stuff,
Yeah.
and like that's kind of really it.
Yeah. And where I will say, well, so that people don't think I'm totally downing on the women in MCU, because I'm not, what I was afraid that they were going to do, and they didn't do, was, like, okay, you had Infinity War, and the only big thing in between was Captain Marvel. I mean, Ant-Man and the Wasp was kind of there, so that we could get the rat discovering time travel, which is fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought, because, okay, they're really pushing this Captain Marvel, look, we have a female hero, I thought that they were going to have, like, the Avengers getting slaughtered, and she comes in and, like, sort of saves the day single-handedly. And I'm sorry, that I would have laughed at. But she didn't. She was there at the beginning to sort of, like, deliver Tony back, and then she sort of fucks off. And then she's back when she needs to be.
That also makes sense to her character, because she spent a good portion of her life, like, kind of out in space. I wouldn't say a good portion, because it looks like she's close-ish to the same age. Anyway, she spends a good deal of her life out in space, and she knows all about this other stuff, and she knows that there's more than just the Earth. So it makes sense that there would be somebody out there, because the Nova Corps is destroyed at this point, because that's how Thanos gets the Power Stone.
Right. Yeah, that's the only one that really sort of gets glossed over in the entire Infinity.
It's like, by the way, the entire Nova Corps is dead.
And see, that kind of sucks in a way, but also that's it's kind of cool in a way, where you've got, like, the people that would have known what the Nova Corps is, like the characters, like Star-Lord and all the Guardians.
Yeah.
Like, they would be hearing about it across the universe a little bit later, and like, oh my god, I didn't even know, I could have saved... And it gave the audience
like,
a little bit...
That's a giant fucking deal.
Yeah. What was I going to say? No, I just think Captain Marvel is awesome. Like, you're talking about, like, how old she is and how long she's been in space. I like the fact that when it is Captain Marvel and it is the 90s, basically, it's the 90s because we have fat TVs and dial-up internet, and Nirvana is playing. And then we fuck it up and stick No Doubt in there. But, anyways.
I liked that song and that scene, too.
That was obnoxious.
I liked that scene.
Great scene. Putting that in there, they know exactly what they did. And
it made me remember. Well, it's a very, like, let's be real. It's a very, like, this is what's working. And Guardians of the Galaxy got this thing where this trend of old-timey or older music. Hang on. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, sorry. Got this trend of, like, I know what we'll do. We'll put trendy older music. I wouldn't say older. It's you're gonna have to talk right now, because I just heard a crash in the other room, and so I think my cats are destroying stuff. So fill dead air for a second.
Dead air.
I'm still here.
Okay. I was just gonna be totally silent and tell the audience, like, hey, let's be totally silent until she gets back.
Okay,
no.
So I was more concerned that my cat had, like, destroyed my TV, but that is not what happened.
There you go. Because if you don't have a TV, you can't watch movies, and this is a movie video. Anyway.
Sorry, guys, that was fun.
Anyways,
what were we talking about?
I don't know. You have seen Far From Home.
Yes, I have seen Far From Home.
Okay.
Which was, I feel like, from the bigness, the bigness is not the word I want to use, but from the, like, kind of almost epic level that we left off of on Endgames.
Yeah.
It was kind of a good come down from that.
See, my reaction is almost the opposite, in the sense of, yeah, it's a come down from Endgame, obviously, because anything would be a come down from Endgame. But
yes.
This, like, Far From Home also completely dwarfs the first Spider-Man movie. As far as
I felt like it was a lot better. Although I did like the first Spider-Man movie, but
see, I don't even think necessarily better. I just think they had more initiative, and they aspired to do more within the movie.
Other than, oh fuck, we have to get Spider-Man into the MCU.
Yeah, well...
Other than what we did in Civil War.
I think, what's his name as Mysterio was better than I thought it was going to be.
Jake Gyllenhaal.
There you go.
It took me a while to... I like, looked at him the whole movie and was like, I know who that is, but who the fuck is it? Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah. I think the way they tossed back to, like, everything from the past, they used our favorite line from Obadiah Stane. Tony Stark built this in a cave!
In a cave! With a bunch of scraps!
I'm not gonna lie, I popped my
there's
tits
been-
off in the theater when that happened, because I'm like, Kristen lives in a different country, but she should be here right now, and we'd be laughing, and it'd be great.
I also, they've been showing a lot of the Marvel movies, like, kind of on the weekends, on like movie channels, or like, just kind of afternoon, whatever. And they had Iron Man 1 on, and I was like, I'd really like to watch that part in Far From Home, and then go to that scene and see if it actually is, like, the same actor.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I say, I don't want to do as much spoilery stuff for Spider-Man, because there's a lot more chance of people that haven't seen it yet. But
Yes.
We can talk about in a later video the stuff revealed in the spoilers that are massive. I don't think they have an effect on Phase 4 specifically, and that's what we're talking about tonight. But if you are going to see Spider-Man Far From Home, what I will say is stay for both post-credit scenes.
They are not just jokey, because usually there's one kind of like jokey end credit scene, and then there's one like
that might be something.
One.
Yeah, there's
That
always
might
like a
be
jokey
something.
one. There's a jokey one, and there's one that might be a bit more serious. And then I think
They are both like pretty big, substantial
Yeah.
ones. One of them is jokey, but the information it gives you is pretty substantial.
one of them, and people are going to be annoyed because I'm tap dancing all the way around it. One of them will have a lot of meaning for those of you that stuck with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, I think they did a lot of things. I think they brought a lot of the world together. I thought Far From Home was a nice funeral for Tony Stark.
Yes.
If that makes sense. When Happy's
I love how they before the movie even came out, before the trailer even came out, there was a semi the directors were like kind of reached out to the community as a whole and were like, hey guys, there's going to be this like embargo of please don't spoil Endgame, because this is like everybody, please don't spoil Endgame. So they didn't even release the Spider-Man, the full like trailer, until after this quote embargo that the directors
and
had put out.
Even when they did
because
release
the trailer spoiled the end game.
but what I love though is for the first like 4 or 5 weeks, even the beginning of the trailer was Tom Holland saying, if you haven't seen Endgame, don't watch this.
Yes.
And see, like, what's funny is people started that everybody knows, don't spoil the Endgame. But what people don't realize, I find on a grand scale, is they actually started that with Infinity War. They actually started that with Infinity War when they put out the idea of like anti-spoilers and stuff like that with the hashtag Thanos demands your silence, and then that became don't spoil the Endgame in the next one, and then they did the big Tom Holland thing for Spider-Man because they couldn't advertise Spider-Man without
spoiling
and
the big thing in Endgame.
Like look at how much they try to cram into a year when they do the movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think they almost shoot themselves in the foot a little bit by doing that, but yeah, there was a little thing, and we're going to get into the crux of the video now. That was just to make up for the 2 videos that we didn't do. Before I get into what we're going to talk about tonight, I want to send a quick shout out, and this is me just blatantly listing my sources pretty much. Everything we're going to talk about tonight, everything that I've got listed in my notes here, comes from a YouTuber by the name of Charlie. His YouTube screen name is Emergency Awesome. I really encourage you to go check that out. There's like long form story arc, trailer preview, really detailed stuff like that. And also our friends not only on the What Culture main page, but specifically the What Culture Comics page. Because basically, we had the San Diego Comic-Con Hall H panel for Marvel and Disney last weekend, and it was broken down by Charlie on Emergency Awesome and by everybody at What Culture, from Adam Clearly to Ash Millman to Jules Gill to Scott Tailford to I can think of his.
It was a big deal.
It was a big deal. So I really do, more than usual, because I literally leaned on these 3 channels as a crutch. I really do, not that they're ever going to hear this, but I do really want to encourage you guys, if you like what I'm talking about here, all of my sources are What Culture and Emergency Awesome, so go check those guys out. They'll probably give you much better and more detailed content than I will. But we're here to talk about everything that dropped for Phase 4, a couple of hints towards what we're getting in Phase 5. The Disney Plus streaming service is a huge proponent of all this. We've got, 10 elements that have dates, and another 6 that don't have dates yet. So basically, I've got these chronologically. We're going to talk about each one a little bit. There's going to be a couple that I'm not familiar with that I'm sort of going to throw your way and hope you're familiar with them, or else that's going to be a really short conversation. Because you know a little bit more about the actual comics than I do.
Some of the ones that they have on there I don't know about, so I'm guessing at the ones that you're probably not going to know about, and I'm going to go ahead and Google them ahead of time.
Okay. This is why you get an awesome co-host, guys, who can crochet and Google and co-host at the same time.
I am a person of many talents.
So yeah, when you're done checking out What Culture and Emergency Awesome, come back here and listen to the rest of this. First one we're going to talk about, and it is a prequel because we're playing around with time all over the place at this point. May 1st, 2020, we are getting the Black Widow movie.
That's going to be interesting, and I assume it's going to be a prequel because other spoiler, Black Widow dies in the movie.
Yeah, well, that happened in Endgame, so it's fine. See, this is one of the things I wanted to look up because I heard different things from different people. They're basically treating this like the Rogue One of the MCU, where it's not current and it's not way back like Captain America and Captain Marvel were. They're sort of wedging it in the middle. It's actually taking place in the time between Civil War and Infinity War, but about half of the movie is a further flashback to when she was a young Soviet spy, Budapest, the Red Room, all that kind of thing.
Oh, we get to hear about Budapest finally.
We get to hear about Budapest and the Red Room and all her training and whatever, which really makes me wonder if Hawkeye has a cameo in it. They have not said anything about Hawkeye when it comes to this show, but what they are doing is apparently between Civil War and Infinity War, she was training the next Black Widow, which was another young lady to come out of the same Red Room program.
Oh, okay. I've seen inkling, or I know vaguely some limited background about that. There's a second Black Widow, a blonde one.
Yeah, the name I have here, and I probably don't have it spelled correctly, so I'm probably going to pronounce it wrong, but I think it's Yelena Banova.
Yeah, that's it.
The idea being that is basically all the girls that came out of the Red Room project were referred to as Black Widows.
Black Widows, yeah.
And it's just she's the one that took it and kind of became something and turned it into a good thing.
Well, I think she's the most elite out of all of them. So it's a normal like kind of revenge slash envious thing. Like she's Natasha Romanoff is like the best of the Black Widows.
Yeah, so the best of the bad guys was the one that became a good guy.
Yes, kind of thing.
It's got a lot of it's a very, I can't think of the word right now. It's a very impulsive movie because they're trying to do 4 things at once. she's passing on the Black Widow.
Everybody's been waiting for this movie, have been calling for this movie since all of this happened.
Well, I think
this has become a thing.
For a while there was a pull because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of went downhill. And I'll say that as somebody that liked the show, it really went downhill. I haven't watched the last season, and apparently it got canceled.
I did get canceled? Well, maybe I shouldn't watch the other... How far did you get before
I got to where they did like the weird time travel forward thing because they wanted to avoid Infinity War.
That one was so hard for me to get through. Like, it felt almost painful to watch. Like, I was like, I don't give a shit about any of this.
Yeah. But there was this thing a while ago, and I thought it was really good because when you had the Netflix shows, and I'm really bummed that the next Netflix shows are done because of this new Disney deal, because you're not going to get those gritty shows on the Disney streaming service.
Clearly, you're not going to have Jessica Jones constantly drinking on a Disney network.
And see, I just want Punisher. Like, John Bernthal as Punisher was the best casting decision they have made since probably casting Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. Like, I don't think we've talked about a lot of really good ones.
A lot of the casting for those Netflix was really good. I was not a fan of the guy they got to play Danny Rand. But that's because I'm partial to the character, and the Iron Fist series sucked so bad.
I was going to say, but you sort of let me know that the Iron Fist series sort of shit the bed on the whole, so you're not going to like the guy, obviously. But like,
I don't think he was. I think he looks like Danny Rand, but that's about it.
There you go. But I'm saying, like, Marvel is an entity right now who like hangs their hat on their great casting. I mean, Anthony Hopkins as
Odin.
As Odin. You've got Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange. As I say, Tony being Iron Man. Like, these are all great casting choices. And within that high standard context, I still think John Bernthal as Punisher is one of the best decisions they've ever made. So that's a thing. But there was this thing a while ago because they were losing all these shows. People that like Hawkeye and Black Widow together wanted them to start a new S.H.I.E.L.D. and have that be one of the shows on the... And that could have been good. Like have a general sort of like fighting, sort of anonymous, like sort of like here's our army type thing, but led by Hawkeye and Black Widow. Could have been a cool concept. And with the movie type budget that these shows are going to have, that could have been amazing. But... the reason I said this movie is sort of a really big endeavor, it's trying to do 4 different things at once. It's trying to do sort of like a middle point of Black Widow's career. It's trying to do a huge flashback of her upbringing. She's trying to do a passing of the torch moment to this Yelena Obanova. I'm pretty sure I'm not pronouncing that correctly. And they're trying to deal with the new villain, which is Taskmaster, who I know nothing about.
I'm trying to remember. Taskmaster is a good one for her. He's known for having like it's called something different, but basically he's got a photographic memory when it comes to athletics. So
right, and he can mimic your fight style.
His style, just by seeing it once. And he's also master swordsman, master marksman, the whole kind of assassin mercenary like playbook, basically.
So if he's able to like mimic people really, really quickly, would it be fair to say that it's sort of like the old expression of fighting yourself?
Yes.
Okay, that I can go with. I've seen some like really fuzzy screenshots of some of the new gear for Taskmaster. It looks kind of cool. It's really weirdly bright colors. It's sort of like a modification of how you would picture like an Iron Man, but not quite as robotic. And it's like bright blue and bright orange. And I'm like, for a villain, the bright colors.
That's kind of weird.
It's kind of weird.
If I remember right, Taskmaster is supposed to be like almost a mercenary. So that's a weird choice. Here, I'm opening up. Go ahead, anyways.
Yeah, I am too. Images. Yeah, actually, you know what? A lot of the imagery I'm seeing is blue and orange and actually white.
Okay.
So
It
so they
looks
haven't totally changed
very.
it.
The images I see. Oh, those are the images for the thing. Hang on, let me
Yeah.
look at like a Wikipedia of him. Yeah, I guess his old age school one. They tone it down in some of the animated ones that you see him in.
Right.
He's usually like more like white and blue minus the orange kind
Yeah,
of thing.
yeah. Orange is an odd choice, and I'm not saying specifically for the movie. I'm saying like if you're drawing a new character,
He has a muscle memory. It's called specifically something, but he has a muscle memory. So photographic reflexes.
Yeah. Okay,
He can mimic
and
martial artists, swords, bow stuff.
totally not related at all to any of this. But if anybody out there likes the Batman animated movies, over the course of last weekend, I did manage to download and check out the movie Batman Hush. It's really
I've
good.
seen stuff for that.
It's really
Maybe
good.
when I get back into some money here, I might re-up my DC membership thing.
Or maybe you could just talk really nice to a friend and I can send you a link.
Oh, we could do that too. Well,
it's really
but
good.
I also want to finish not Justice League, Young Justice Outsiders.
Okay. I literally we talked about Wonder Woman earlier, but like DC is not doing too much to interest me at the moment. I mean, I didn't bother seeing Shazam, even though people tell me it's good.
It's good.
I
wouldn't. Knowing your taste, I would say you'd say it's okay.
Yeah, because it looks, and apparently this is not very good advertising on their part, but every preview I've seen for it looks really silly.
It is that.
Okay, and yes, that was me that just said something was silly, but no, on the opposite side, where I will have every MCU movie on my shelf, and if they start putting cartoons out, I probably won't care. Other than
I'll tell you, the DC does animated stuff a lot better. DC does animated stuff really well, and Marvel's a little lacking, I guess, on their animated stuff. Minus Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. If you haven't seen that, I know it's animated, so a bunch of people were turned off by it. But go check that out.
I actually bought it. I'm actually looking at it on my shelf right now. I just haven't watched it yet. I just haven't watched it yet.
It's a movie that I went into being like, all right, whatever. Like, I had some time to kill, and it was on in a movie theater. And I'm like, I've heard some good things. I mean, I had no real intention to go see it, and then came out of it going, I need to see this 5 more times.
It was weird when we went to see Venom, and one of the post-credit scenes of Venom was a 5-minute clip from Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I'm like, that was an odd choice. It wasn't a bad choice necessarily, but it was an odd choice.
And it won an Oscar.
Well, all right then.
I mean, not that should make you go watch it, but it did win an Oscar.
Ask me another day my opinion on most awards shows, and let me try to find a much more eloquent way of saying they're all trash. So yeah, that's the Black Widow movie. That is literally the first thing I have on my list.
Okay.
Second one, if we are going to talk about the spoilers from Endgame, and obviously
we already did.
Well, the disappearance and then subsequent aging and then subsequent death of Captain America, the last thing we saw of him was passing on the mantle of Captain America to Falcon.
Yeah, everybody was waiting to see who would be the next Cap. They've been talking about it for a while, and it was either going to be Bucky or Falcon. They decided to go past Bucky on this one.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
You could get into some really controversial conversation about that choice. I don't even want to. Like, there's an argument to be had there that I don't even want to have. Falcon being the new Cap, I can't think of the guy's name that plays Falcon.
Anthony Mackie.
I like him.
He's the greatest human being on Earth, by the way. When we saw him at the one panel that I went to for Marvel stuff, He's an amazing human being. He's so funny.
Nice. I just think that between the two of them, we've seen more of his like actual character. Like he got to do the cameo in Ant-Man. He got to have more direct working with Cap than Bucky did, because Bucky was busy being a brainwashed bad guy. So I think from a storytelling point of view, the character that could have used a boost was Bucky. But I think that slight, if you want to call it a slight, will get people more invested in Bucky by default.
Also, Anthony Mackie and what's his name? Is it Sebastian
Stan, yeah.
Together are hilarious as well.
Yeah,
they
do.
They go on press tour together. They're hilarious.
Oh yeah, but like even in what was it, in Civil War, when they're together with Cap, they really do play well off that like buddy cop vibe.
Yeah.
I mean, Cap was obviously a part of that. But even when one of the funnier parts of
that whole fight scene was when they're fighting Spider-Man.
Yes. Yeah. And Spider-Man's like marking out for the fight that he's in.
Yes.
Tom Holland
is usually not this much talking.
Tom Holland is a national treasure. Can we just say
Yes.
that? Tom Holland's really good. I hope he like doesn't leave. Yeah.
We want to keep him forever.
Well, because they're playing him up like he's the new Iron Man, which is fine because it's a better choice than Pepper. The one thing I will say, and we're going to go back to Far From Home again, is when he's on the plane with Happy and he's like the new suit printer technology on the back of the plane.
Where he's basically 3D printing a new suit.
He's 3D printing a new suit, and Happy is like, okay, you take care of the suit, I'll take care of the music, and they almost exactly mimicked the scene from the first Iron Man, where he's putting his first suit together. And if you go back, and this is one of those reasons where you gotta go check out Emergency Awesome, because he does cool shit like this. He does like sort of a shot-for-shot comparison of those two scenes, and Tom Holland in some interview somewhere says, yeah, basically we cloned that scene, like, intentionally. Which I thought was
that kind of stuff I like about Marvel, because they didn't have to do that. But because 90% of their audience is going to be like, not going to go look that up. But the hardcore, like, lose their shit for, like, little stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing about having, and I'm sorry, and we keep saying it, but it keeps being true, every other entity right now is trying to copy Marvel. As far as this, like, continuous universe thing. Because even if you don't know what that scene is, it's still a cool scene. You got a little bit of cool music going on in the background. The kid's just having a montage of putting his suit together. If you have no clue, it's still a cool scene. But if you've been watching since 2008, you are rewarded. And
it makes me think of this comedy bit that Patton Oswalt does when he talks about walking around, funny enough, Disney, with his kid. And he's looking around at all the stuff and the level of detail in Disney. He's like, man, if you put a bunch of OCD people together, they can do fucking amazing shit. Just the level of detail.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks because, like, everybody else that's out there right now trying to do something good. I mean, DC tried to do a continuous universe. It kind of fell apart. Godzilla is doing the continuous universe thing, and I like it. A lot of people are crapping on it, which I don't really get. But anybody else that comes along and tries to do it.
My boyfriend is a huge Godzilla mark. Loves Godzilla, like has all the Japanese ones and all of that stuff. And he really liked this one. We've seen it at least 3 times.
Oh, what, King of the Monsters?
Yes.
And see, this is the thing, and
he made me do homework. I had to watch the first Godzilla.
Oh no. And see, I'm treating this new current timeline of Godzilla the exact same way I treat Marvel, the exact same way I treat DC. I'm going to take it from my starting point. Like, my starting point for Marvel is the Captain America movie with Robert Downey Jr. And going forward. The unfortunate thing is, Godzilla, or DC, or what's the other one? The Shyamalan connected split glass universe, whatever. They could knock it out of the park, and they're still going to be in the shadow of Marvel. because Marvel's got this monster of, like, right now.
Well, and Marvel's got it down to even their, like, even their, like, okay stuff is still, like, leagues above everyone else's
the stuff that's just okay, and you and I said this before when we had our conversation about Captain America, because I don't like Captain America, but the nature of the MCU kind of traps you a little bit. And I mean this in a good way, but it traps you into seeing stuff that you wouldn't normally see. Like, if they weren't connected, I would not have gone and seen Ant-Man. I would not have gone and seen Captain America, because I don't care about those characters, but I care enough about the fact that that movie, there's going to be some little element from that movie that's going to pay off later on. Like, when you're watching Winter Soldier...
That will be the same reason, though, that when this all gets a little too far, and I don't know what level that will be at some point there's going to be a bridge, a generation gap, where, like, my nephews, who are, like, 8 and 10 at this point, in like 5 years, they'll be old enough to, like, go and see some of these without, having to be with a parent or something like that. And
they're going to feel like they have to do homework.
Yeah, they're not going to go and watch from Iron Man 1 on. And once you get to that point where it's like, well, you've had to have seen, like, these 26 other movies to, like, make complete sense, they're going to be like, I don't want to fucking do that. And it will bite them in the ass at some point.
But then we can go back to the Spider-Man scene on the plane. Like, if you don't know what that scene means, it still has a function within that movie. I don't think that's that's part of why I think Marvel's thing works so well, is because they reward the people that have been there the whole time without excluding new people.
It helps whenever people go away, because, like, you got Robert Downey Jr., you've got Cap, and people, are going to feel how they're going to feel about it. Yeah. But now, if you come in new, if you haven't seen, Iron Man 1, 2, and 3, or Captain America, or Civil War, or any of that, you don't really need all of that, because, Cap's not there, Iron Man's not there.
I feel like whatever comes after Endgame is going to feel like a bit of a reset.
Like, for example, it introduced Black Panther, but now that Black Panther has his own movie, you don't necessarily need to have seen Civil War to, like, be like, oh, Black Panther.
Yeah.
He, like, has his own movie now.
But and you know what? It's not in the huge, oh my god, where did these characters come from? The rewards for people that stay, like, that have watched it from the beginning, come in the smallest little doses. My example, even though I don't really like Captain America, but if you look at the second one, Winter Soldier, when he first meets Falcon,
arguably the better Captain America, and I like the Captain America movies, but that one's the best one. Winter Soldier.
Well, considering the third one's really an Avengers movie. Anyways,
that's true.
But no, when they're doing their laps around the pool there, right at the beginning, and he keeps doing the whole on your left thing. Mm-hmm. Nobody thinks of that until
I love that scene, and then when he comes back and
until Endgame, where, like, just, you hear the voice over the speaker, "Hey, on your left," and literally everybody shows up. And you know what? On your left could mean nothing to somebody. If somebody's first movie was Endgame, that would be a bit weird. But you could watch that.
Also, if your first movie is Endgame, that is a little weird.
That is a little sad. I feel bad for you if your first movies were Infinity War and Endgame, only because you're not getting as much of it out of it as you could.
You're like, okay, cool, there's a lot of people here, and I don't know who they are.
Look, in the immortal words of Adam Cleary, look at all those action figures smashing into each other.
Yep.
Okay, so, getting back to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because we really diverted on that one. Baron Zemo, that's fine. I love it. I'm wide awake. This could go on forever. Baron Zemo is coming back as the villain.
Oh, I guess they're going to get him out of jail somehow. They really didn't use him very much in Ultron, in Age of Ultron. He was at the very beginning.
You mean Civil
When
War?
the Oh, I'm thinking of the other guy. Sorry.
No, Baron Zemo was the guy that like gave Iron Man the tape of Bucky killing his parents, whatever. And that's why Civil War works, is because they don't spend any time on the villain. They just spend all the time on the heroes fighting. Again, ripping ideas right from Adam Cleary. Again, go check out What Culture. But Baron Zemo is basically there to be a body as the villain, but it's a villain that they spend no time on because all of the things that he's upset about are things that the Marvel fans already know. So he never really gets to have a character. But in this, apparently, he's still trying to teach the world about how bad superheroes are and what they leave in their wake and whatever. And the idea being is he's going back to the comic book Purple Mask, because it's like, well, you know, people hide behind these fake identities. Why don't I hide behind this fake identity and just go and destroy some shit to show how bad these anonymous people are? Which I think is an interesting take, because you do get a little bit of that in Civil War, and you do get a little bit of that on the other side with the Batman versus Superman stuff, where like, yeah, these people saved us, but look at how much damage they caused. And to get that from a villain, it's one of those villain things where it's like, I hate you because what you're saying is kind of right. Another interesting thing, and this was just an idea that was floated around my work, Falcon and the Winter Soldier really shouldn't be called Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Because Falcon is Captain America now, and Winter Soldier is what he was called when he was like a Russian, like, Hydra terrorist
That's their
guy.
character name now. And all we know is that Cap gave Bucky the shield. All we know is that Cap gave Falcon the shield. It could be a movie of him struggling with the idea of...
You haven't seen the screen caps of his gear, haven't you? Okay. This is going to be one of those...
I haven't. I try not to watch any of that stuff because I don't ever want to have any preconceived notions about the movie, because I feel like that's what fucked Star Wars for a lot of people, is that they thought it was going to be this, they like had this idea of what it was going to be, and then when it wasn't that, they were pissed. Okay. Whereas I didn't come up with anything where I'm like, I didn't try and figure out all the stuff or anything. I just let them tell the story that they want to tell, and then I judge it based on that.
Look in the Skype chat.
Okay, hang on. Pulling it up. I mean, it could still be a thing where he struggles to, you don't know if this is like an end fight,
right,
thing that he like becomes this at some point, but he spends most of the movie like not being this.
I know, it's true, but like, Falcon was never a focal point in the MCU as Falcon. Winter Soldier is really his villain name, and we saw when he was in Wakanda, Black Panther literally renamed him the White Wolf. So I'm going to say this a bunch in this video. It's a very nitpicky thing. I would have loved if the name of the show itself had been Captain America and the White Wolf.
I think there's still too many people that are like, he's not Captain America yet. They need to see him in a movie being Captain America. I'm telling you, at least, I don't know about Bucky's thing, but I know that Falcon's deal, I almost can guarantee that this picture we're seeing is not like, this is how he looks throughout the movie. Because it would make a lot of sense that he would have a struggle of being Captain America.
But we also don't know the time disparity between the end of Endgame and this.
No.
Like I say, I didn't mention this when we first started talking about it. This isn't coming out. This is the very first mini-series. Basically, I think they're calling them TV events. They're not even calling them TV shows on the Disney Plus streaming service. I think they only run for like 6 to 10 episodes and then they're done. But this isn't coming out until fall 2020. Mm-hmm. So, like, other things will have happened. There may be another time jump. We don't know. I would almost like to see him come in the show as this, and then have the show address, like, it's one of those things where he comes in and he's already confident in his role, and as we go, we see how he became in...
It does flashbacks.
Yeah, but, like,
That'd be interesting.
Like, if every episode had, like, a 2 or 3 minutes... do you watch the show How to Get Away with Murder?
Yeah.
You know how they do the time jump, and, like, the first 2 minutes of every episode is actually from the last episode? I want them to do the opposite here. Like, in every episode, have him out there being the new Captain America, the winged Captain America, but, like, at the beginning of every episode is like 2 or 3 minutes of his struggle to get there, and then what he's doing now. Two or 3 more minutes of his struggle to get there, and then what he's doing now. I think you could do a really interesting dynamic, because we're constantly introducing new characters.
See, basically, well, what's funny is that basically what you want is you don't watch the DC TV universe. Basically, what you want is what they do in Arrow.
Okay.
Is where they have random flashbacks of, like, stuff that happened in Oliver's past. And
then whatever's happening that episode.
Yes, and then usually it pertains to something that is happening within that episode.
Yeah, well, because I don't want this to be like a Gotham scenario. I mean, I loved Gotham. I think I watched Gotham right up until the end. But that entire show was an origin story. I don't know how many shows I can sit through on the Disney Plus thing where the entire show is an origin story. And yeah, we know who Falcon is, but if we're talking about him becoming Captain America, that would be 10 episodes of a re-origin story. And I think, especially with Marvel, because you've got so many characters and you're always meeting somebody new, I think you get, like, origin story fatigue. Mm-hmm. So I think if they are able to intersperse it with enough current day whatever's happening where he does know that he is Captain America, because if not, you're going to have Winter Soldier, who's already Winter Soldier, like, waiting for Falcon to catch up, and that, I think, would also have a really weird thing to it. Anyways, that's that. That is going to be the very first show, like I said, on the Disney Plus, dropping fall 2020. November 6th, 2020, this is the first one that I have no idea about whatsoever, is the Eternals movie.
Okay, this is one I had to look up as well, because I didn't know anything. I am at a loss in here, so we're probably not going to have much to talk about in this.
I mean, I'm a little bit biased. I mean, Salma Hayek's in it, and she's okay. Angelina Jolie is in it, and for better or for worse, I'm a big mark for Angelina Jolie. I want to see what she does. The only real point of reference we have for this is if you go back to the Collector explaining to the Guardians where the Infinity Stones came from, and they show these big, huge, gigantic creatures, like, taking over and destroying whole planets. Apparently those were the Eternals. There's the Eternals, the Celestials, and then there's the Divergents, and Dormammu and Thanos were apparently two of the Divergents. I think I've got that correct. But basically, it's like, okay, we've had Dormammu, we've had Thanos. These are, like, the level up from them, is the best of my understanding. But that is a very, very loose understanding.
It looks like from what I'm looking at, I'm just doing a Wikipedia search, guys. So, grain of salt. It looks like they're, like, kind of like how Thor is, where they've been in human history at some point and people have seen them as gods and stuff like that. And there's specific mention of like Olympus.
I know there's Icarus
and stuff like that. So they're kind of, like Thanos, but
I don't know. They're opening up, like, the big bad like galactic side of the MCU.
Yeah.
We want to go a little bit bigger than Guardians.
Like,
we want to go a little bit bigger than
their
Thor.
thing is like their Wikipedia page is pretty huge, and they've had retcon over retcon of what they actually are, but they're kind of like galactic beings, very Thanos-like, where they're pretty powerful. They're long living, and can be seen by, normal people as like gods.
Okay. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Ego the Living Planet was one of them.
I don't think he's an eternal. I think he's a celestial.
Celestial, yeah. Which is either a step above or a step below. This is, guys, this is where we're getting into uncharted territory. This is where me, who doesn't read the comics and is going by the movies, is going to kind of fall down a little bit. So if Kristen doesn't know, then neither one of us know.
Exactly. This is going to be one where, this is going to be one that I don't know on. I'm hoping it doesn't turn into what the TV series. The one bad Marvel thing that happened was
the Immortals or whatever.
Yeah, what are they called? It wasn't called the Immortals. It was called they're not mutants. They are. They talk about them in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's whatever Quake is.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god, this is gonna drive me crazy.
It's what they called them because they couldn't call them mutants.
Yes, but they're in the MCU. There are mutants, and then there are also whatever this is. Here we go. Got it. Hang on, I'm looking her up. She is a Inhuman.
There we go.
Inhuman. Inhumans are people that have like Kree within the MCU, like Kree DNA that awaken superpowers, like from ages ago. Like it's been passed on through millennia.
And it has to be activated. Yeah, that was a big part of the show.
Yeah, it has to be activated. And mutants are a natural human mutation.
And see, there you go. You talk about like sort of picking and choosing who I would want to bring over from Netflix. If they want to bring over anybody from regular TV, I would love to see the Quake character in an MCU movie.
Yeah, I like the Quake.
Like if they because remember Infinity War, they snapped away Fury and Maria Hill, and then they both came back. If they couldn't get Maria Hill to come back, you could have like Fury and Quake. Like you could even do a movie with the two of them, and it would be badass. Because what's her name? Chloe Bennett, just like on a very, very silly show, she was still an awesome character.
Mm-hmm.
And Coulson's not dead in S.H.I.E.L.D., so it's fine. He's in Tahiti. It's a wonderful place. So we're gonna knock out both things that I'm not familiar with in one go. February 12th, 2021, we are getting Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Okay, this one I'm a smidge more informed about. Not a lot more, but a smidge.
Okay, floor's all yours.
He's basically a kung fu master. He's in the same realm as Iron Fist and stuff. In fact, I think his father was like Emperor of Kunlun, which is the mythical place that Danny Rand gets the Iron Fist. If I am not mistaken, I'm actually going to check that just to be sure.
Well, if you follow the show, that's what it was, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, I could be wrong about that, or it could be retcon. Not sure. It's a kung fu thing, so it's going to have like a level. It's going to be very, hopefully, better than Iron Fist. It's going to have a small level of mysticism, and it's going to be just kind of a kung fu movie.
Yeah. The only tie-in that I have to this, and I know that some people don't like Iron Man 3 because of what they did to the Mandarin character.
Yeah.
Apparently, the villain of this movie is the real Mandarin.
Yeah.
So that'll be cool. For the people out there that know that the other one was weird and were pissed off about that, maybe this will sort of satiate them a little bit. For me, I like the twist in Iron Man 3 because I went in, like I say, I don't read the comics, so I went in blind. I thought it was a really neat twist to have this like real like terrorist type character, and really it's just a sciencey nerd hiding behind an actor.
Well, and you know what's funny about that is that particular thing avoided the thing that ended up happening if you knew anything about the comics in Spider-Man,
Okay.
which I did not. I wasn't a. I don't want to spoil things. Fuck it. They're this far in. If you haven't seen Spider-Man Homecoming, do not, just skip ahead a little
Homecoming
bit.
or Far From Home?
Far From Home, sorry.
Okay.
Far From Home. So skip ahead because I'm about to spoil it. I am about to spoil it. You have been warned. Spoilers. If you read up on Mysterio at all, you spoil the movie for yourself beforehand, because his thing on his like, if you went to his Wikipedia page, it's a little different. He's not a scientist in the comics. They're like, he's a failed actor who does this whole
special effects
excelled
thing.
in special. Yeah, he excels in special effects, and so he uses his persona of Mysterio to be a superhero. He doesn't try to be a superhero, but he uses it to steal shit.
And eventually ends up using it to play the hero, quote unquote.
Yes, if you researched it at all, you spoiled the movie for yourself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's what the Iron Man 3 Mandarin avoided. It's because even if you were a big comic book nerd, you went in and you were still hoodwinked.
Yeah. And this is where I come around to it once again, is if you know, then it was changed, so it was new for you. And if you go in blind like me, it's a movie with a really neat twist. But then it's a twist again to come back and say, you know what, I was playing the Mandarin, which was this fictional character, but then I kind of got in shit, because it turns out there's a real Mandarin, and here we go. But, I think it's funny that actual, they played it up in one movie, and the actual character is coming in what I can only guess is a completely unrelated movie.
Yeah, probably. It probably won't. It's not very, Iron Man. He's not, like I say, he's very sort of, he does a little work within Heroes for Hire, which is the, company that Luke Cage and Iron Fist kind of put together so that people can, hire a superhero to, if there's a gangster coming in and threatening your business, can hire these guys to rough them up a bit.
So, superheroes for hire.
Yes.
There you
go. Nope, they're just heroes for hire.
I don't know. I will say the one
and
thing.
They hinted at it a lot in the Netflix, especially the Defenders series.
Yeah.
They hinted at Heroes for Hire, and the barbershop parlor that Luke Cage inherits from that guy is kind of what they hint to be Heroes for Hire, is where they're going to start conducting business. There's a lot of hints about it.
I love when they're having fight scenes and they do their own version of Thor's hammer versus Iron Man's shield, and it's just he does the Iron Fist into Luke Cage's hands, and everybody else just has to fall away.
Yep.
I know you didn't like the Iron Fist, how it came off on TV, but the two of them in the fight scenes that they had working together, I thought they pulled off really well.
Those were the best parts of Defenders.
Yeah.
Was when, in Defend. We're getting off topic, but
That's
I'm just
fine.
going to finish this statement anyways. In Defenders, you got to see a hint, a smidgen of the Danny Rand Iron Fist that I really like, the goofy one, the one that's kind of a little weird hippie, but kind of goofy and all of that stuff, where he's not this basically he was an emo guy the entire time.
Took himself way too seriously for 99% of the show.
And the whole I'm a virgin thing, I just I can't.
Yeah, especially when you got
they made
Colleen Wing and the Night Nurse there.
Wing, she's a badass in the beginning of that season, and then they make her basically a little bitch. she's fucking awesome in the beginning, and then it's just kind of like she becomes what I call the starry-eyed mooncalf, where she just kind of follows Danny Rand around, all hard eyes and shit. I hated it.
Anyways, tell us how you really feel.
Well, because in the comics, she's supposed to partner up with Misty Knight, and they're like a badass, like she's a detective and she's like a swordswoman, and they like fucking fight crime together.
Okay.
And then they made her into then they made Colleen Wing into a starry-eyed mooncalf that just follows fucking emo-ass Danny Rand around. I tried to not be as mean about it, but it's because I watched the entire season thinking it's gonna get better. It's fine. Like, this episode wasn't great, but we'll go to the next one and it'll get a little bit better. And it fucking didn't. It didn't get better. It was so awful.
It's like Bart and Homer when they see the flying pig. It's just a little airborne. It's still good. It's still good. Anyways, so nothing really to say about Shang-Chi, other than we hope it's better than Iron Fist.
It'd be hard not to be worse than Iron Fist. It's gonna be a kung fu movie, guys.
It'll be interesting to see how they take, like, the genre, like, MCU
with
has...
a little bit of mysticism.
Yeah, like, MCU has a bunch of different genres, and it's been pointed out by many other people other than myself, but, like, you've got the ones that are a little bit more family-friendly, the ones that are almost like spy movies, the ones that are, like, let's just get big robots and fight each other, the ones that are about monsters, like... Because it's so big, and you can branch out so much, there's so many different genres, it'll be interesting to see how, like, a proper kung fu movie genre fits in with the rest of this. And that's not the last time I'm going to say this tonight either. But, we come now to, I'm sorry, my highlight of anything we're going to talk about for the rest of this video. So we reached the high point about halfway through. That's fine. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
That's going to be interesting, because I liked Doctor Strange. It wasn't my favorite one, just because it was a little, different. But, I mean, how can you go wrong with Benedict Cumberbatch? And maybe now, because in the other one, we kind of see him, like, become Doctor Strange, whereas now he's, like, full-fledged, I'm trying to think of the word, what his title is.
Sorcerer Supreme?
Sorcerer Supreme, yes.
Not only that, he's now got the experience of literally watching half of the universe disappear and come back. Like, that's something to put on your resume. But, I'm sorry, that's not the reason I'm excited about this.
Why?
This is the Magic Buddy Cop movie. This is Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch.
Is she gonna be in that one?
Yeah, it's both of them.
Cool.
They're going through the because of his telepathic ability, they're going through the multiverse because of her magic. They're also going into the Nightmare realm. They're literally fighting a villain called Nightmare.
I've seen that, yeah.
It's being promoted as the first proper MCU horror movie. They didn't... We're going to talk about R ratings and stuff later on. They said this isn't going to be R rated, but they're going to push it as far as they can in terms of being a horror movie without it being rated R, which is fine.
Not as much gore and violence.
Not as much gore and violence,
no
but definitely not bright, shiny, fun times. I'm just sorry. I'm saying a magical horror movie with Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch. Like...
I'll still go see it just 'cause, but I'm not up for horror movies. Kristen doesn't like horror movies.
I am into horror movies, and again, it's very much the same as the Kung Fu thing. I don't know how you fit proper horror movie tropes into the MCU continuum, but partially, they're fighting a guy called Nightmare. He's literally going to make you live your nightmares. Visually, they could do all kinds of shit with that. Look what they did
They usually, every time I've seen Nightmare, he usually, once he gets powerful enough, he can start putting people to sleep, and they start living like their worst nightmare. And the more fear he gets that's out there, the more like the stronger he gets, the more terrifying power he gets.
Yeah, it's like a Freddy Krueger type theme.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot like that.
It's MCU Freddy Krueger with no claws. The other thing, because every movie we watch in the MCU now, we have to wonder not only what are they doing, but what are they doing next. It's being heavily hinted at this point that either in the dream dimension or in the multiverse is where they go to get Vision back. Because what would Wanda Maximoff be dreaming about more than anything else is to get back the one person that they couldn't get back even when they reversed the snap, which was Vision.
Mm-hmm.
Now whether they if they go to the multiverse or a different time or whatever, then they're getting a different version of Vision. If they go into
just like that for Guardians 3, like it's a different Peter Quill's like searching for Gamora. It's a different Gamora. Like that's one he knew before that didn't know him.
Oh man. Okay. So I'm gonna get repetitive once again. Going back watching Emergency Awesome literally today, they're starting to release like the cut scenes from Endgame, and it's an extended cut scene of the Iron Man death scene, like when he does he does the Iron Man snap, and Thanos fades away, and like who is it? It's like Pepper and Rhodey and Spider-Man get to say their goodbyes. And they just do this awesome, like, sweeping shot of the entire battlefield, and all the MCU characters that we've come to know, like, they all take a knee, like, one after another, after another, after another. It's nothing new, but it's just such a cool shot.
It's a little extra.
It's just an extra shot. It's really, and because it's a cut scene, it's not even fully edited, so it is it's a little hatch at parts. But even with it being a little bit hatch, it looks really good, and it's one of those, it's an extra 10 seconds or so, why couldn't you have just put that in there?
Because you got to cut somewhere, or else then you have a 5-hour movie. And it was already pretty long.
And the re-release was an extra half hour long.
Like,
when they did the re-release just so they could beat Avatar.
It was like 3.5 hour movie, like.
It was 3 hours, 2 minutes. The re-release was 3.5.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
And like, I mean, I even had to go take a bathroom break, so there was like, I tried to take bathroom breaks in different spots so that when I watched it 3 times, like, then I got the whole
now
movie.
you've finally seen all of it. I do like the end credit scene of Endgame though.
Yes.
Just the 3 taps.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, in that cutscene, it was like the entire battlefield takes a knee for the death of Iron Man, and Gamora's just in the far corner of the shot and just like walks off because she's like, it's not the Gamora that is connected to any of them, and I'm just like, oh, that's so sad, and oh, that's so sad, and anyways, I don't know how we really got onto that, but yeah, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness it looks really good. I've seen a lot of like concept art for it and like mock-up posters and all that sort of thing. And you know it's good when just somebody sends you, hey, look at the poster for the movie coming up, and that's enough to get you excited. Because I really do think Elizabeth Olsen is underrated in her role as well, partially because she hasn't had a movie of her own to really sort of flex as an individual character, but I do think she's really good. And Cumberbatch, again, Marvel casting is what it is. But the main reason that we think we're getting Vision out of the Doctor Strange movie is because the very next thing to come out in spring 2021 is the Disney Plus show WandaVision.
I don't know how I feel about that, but we'll see.
Which is a stupid name, and the graphic for it is stupid.
It's not as stupid as the Loki graphic, but I mean that's
the Loki graphic's fine. Leave it alone. It's good.
The Loki graphic looks like somebody like they got a graphic design student, and it's their first time using, like, word stencils.
Or somebody that was really tired using clip art.
Yes, basically.
The WandaVision thing, originally when I heard about it, I heard that it was coming out before Doctor Strange, and then I've subsequently been corrected, because in my notes, the first question I have is how do we get Vision back, and I think we're getting Vision back in the Doctor Strange movie. The only other thing I really have, because I don't know who the villain is, I don't know what time it's in, I don't know whether it's in a concurrent day or not, but Monica Rambeau from Captain Marvel is in this. But Captain Marvel isn't. And there's literally no explanation that I can find how Scarlet Witch, Vision, and Photon are.
I was about to say she in the comics she's a superhero. I don't know if they're going to give her powers at any point.
I mean, I hate to say that she's sort of a sidekick character at the moment, but she kind of is. So you figure she would be in the next Captain Marvel movie. I don't know. I don't really have a plot synopsis for this even.
This
so
is
I really
probably
don't.
the one I am like least excited about.
I mean, unless there's something in there, because, like I say, we don't know the plot, unless there's something in there that's going to sort of be...
It's going to be a sitcom, and they're going to start a family.
Oh my god, ew, robot sex.
And it's going to have... No, he's not a robot, he's an android. It's different. He's made out of living tissue.
Nanotech sperm.
They do have kids in the comics.
That's really weird, and I was hoping you weren't going to bring that up. I've seen some of the
They
drawings.
have kids in the comics.
I've seen some of the drawings from some of those cartoons, and they look creepy as fuck. Sorry, guys, I'm having a drink because it's ridiculously hot here, even though it's like midnight. Yeah. I hope that we haven't heard anything about the show intentionally, because something huge is going to happen on the show leading into whatever the next movie is. But I like I say, I like Elizabeth Olsen. I think virtually the fact that she's going to have something that is hers is interesting enough on its own. Paul Bettany as Vision is great. It means that we didn't lose him in Infinity War, which is a plus. And I guess we can sort of tie that into the next one. The next one is Loki, which is the Loki from the time jump who stole the Tesseract and fucked off. So I think it's just going to be him, like, hopping through time and space. Just.
By the way, funny, not really on topic or anything.
That's fine.
When I went to see it with my parents, and you know, they call me whenever they don't understand something in the Marvel universe and whatever. But funny enough, my mom, she has to have there's a little backstory here. To go to sleep, she has to have some sort of noise. So usually she turns on a movie and then gets about 10 minutes into it maybe.
Yeah.
Before she falls asleep. My dad is not like that. So he ends up, you know, he's watched Black Panther probably about 200 times just because it's on. That's what mom put on. And, you know, there's select ones that my mom watches over and over and over again, Black Panther being one of them.
Yeah.
So because he has now seen them so many times, he's now more well-versed in some of those movies than I am.
Nice.
He's seen every tiny, minute detail in it.
Yeah.
And the scene in Endgames where Loki gets the Tesseract and fucks off, like when he left the movie theater, 2 days he was like, what the fuck does that mean? Like, what does that mean? Like, does he disappear? Because that changed history at this point. What does that do? Is he dead?
Well, it didn't change history. It gave him a branch, like a new branch of history.
So yeah, for 2 days, my dad was losing his mind about Loki running off with the Tesseract.
He's that meme of the guy who's got like all the pegs and all the strings on the board,
Yes,
and
he's
that guy.
Mean? He is. What does this mean?
Okay. sort of not really connected to the timeline at all, but just a separate concept that I hope is really good, but has the potential to be really, really cheesy, is the Marvel What If series.
I've heard literally nothing about this, so...
It's a cartoon. It's a cartoon from the perspective of the Watchers.
Okay.
And they're all going to be like creative one-offs. It's like, well, this is the Marvel Universe as you know it, but what if this had happened instead? What if this had happened instead? What, you know?
Because I think there's a comic series called this.
Okay. All the original characters, I think they brought back like 40 or 50 proper Marvel actors just to voice their respective characters. The only two voice actors that are not involved is somebody else is voicing Iron Man, which is going to be weird. And they had to find somebody new to voice the Watcher himself, because originally the idea was to have...
Was going to be Stan Lee do it?
Was going to be Stan Lee, yeah. Which is sad. But, so the only person that's new to the project is, I can't think of his name and I didn't write it down because I'm special, but whoever it is that's doing the voice of the Watcher. It's cool. Like, it's one of those, if I read the description of an episode, I can watch just one episode because they're all going to be like segmented, one-off type things. It's fun. It's them.
I could be mistaken, so please correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. I do believe that there is a What If series that, like, a zombie virus breaks out in the MCU and a bunch of superheroes, like, get bit by a zombie virus. Like, that's one of the What If comics. Okay. Not a What If, but pretty close to one is one where Deadpool kills everyone in the MCU universe and then, like, at the very end steps out of the comic to go into the quote real world, because Deadpool's the only one that has knowledge that he's a comic book character.
Right. And see, okay, I think I've asked you this before, but it's a debate I've been having a lot with a lot of people recently with the Fox thing, and we're going to talk about the Fox thing later on as well, and all the new characters that they have access to again. I've always said the one character I don't want in the MC, not just because of the R rating, but the one character you can't really put in the MCU is Deadpool.
Is Deadpool,
because you can't.
He's kind of doing his own thing in the other things. Like, everybody kind of wanted a end credit scene where, like, Deadpool shows up late in the, like, Avengers, like, spandex that they have.
Yeah, like if they wanted to throw that in there as a joke at the end of the credits, I wouldn't have a problem. But like to have an element like he has, where like breaking the fourth wall, and try to make that interact with an entire universe.
Yeah, I think if they're going to ever try and do Deadpool in, I don't think he should ever actually be in a movie. I think the running gag is he's never in a real Marvel movie. Like, he's always in his movie, and that's about it. And if he shows up somewhere, it's
like if there's a Deadpool movie, and like you want to have him watching the news and hearing about like all the bullshit that Thanos did on the news in his movie, and have him turn off the TV and be like, well, I'm not worried, it's not real. But like that's him doing that in his movie. I don't think there's ever going to be a Captain America and Deadpool movie. Yeah, like I don't think you can bridge him across. Like I don't think you can have Deadpool as an Avenger, because that breaking the fourth wall element is so unique. As soon as you bring him, the closest thing they could do is X-Men, because he's kind of already sort of associated with them in a way through his movies. Yeah, but the whole joke is that like he goes to the X Mansion and no one's there except they're definitely there. Except they're definitely there when he opens the door. We couldn't get a budget to get some real X-Men in here. Oh, come on, they spent all their budget on Dark Phoenix. Exactly. Which I did not go see because I heard it wasn't good, and that made me sad. I liked it for what it was. I had a really forgiving nature when I went to go see it. A, Phoenix, great. B, the actress that played Phoenix, I think is really good. Yes, that's why I wanted it to be good, because I like Sophie Turner. I think that's her name. But the thing is, like, with Dark Phoenix, it's the last, and it was basically advertised as the last Fox X-Men movie.
And so they just kind of like, well, whatever.
Well, not whatever, but like, you cannot get over the fact that like nothing that happens in this movie matters, because this is the end. And also, you're trying to sort of breathe a little bit of last life into a series that has been buried. Like, everything after the time jump, with the exception of Logan, because Logan was fucking fantastic. But everything after the time jump sucked. And I hate that, because I like James McAvoy. I like the guy that they brought in to play young Magneto, whose name I can't remember right now.
Yeah. It became very much about, what's her name, from Hunger Games.
Mystique.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence,
yeah. Which is fine. I didn't mind it being all about Mystique, because that's how you do a strong female character properly. But it's just, I think what happened after the after the original three, like the original, Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Hugh Jackman, original 3 X-Men movies, they wanted to reboot it. But they were scared to reboot it, so they kept Hugh Jackman in there to make everybody think, no. They're entirely younger versions of these characters. They're entirely new actors playing these characters, but it's still the same continuity. Look, Hugh Jackman. And I think if they had just admitted at the time of the time jump that it was a reboot, people could have went in with a clean slate and said, okay, this is this. But because it was a continuation, they compared it to the first 3, which were awesome, and they shot themselves in the foot. And then they went on and did Logan to show everybody how awesome the movies could have been all the way along, and it just made everything else in the middle look like crap. So you had Dark Phoenix.
I really wanted Dark Phoenix to do well, because I liked Sophie Turner, and I liked how she played Jean Grey. A lot of people didn't like the second one, the Apocalypse movie. And I mean, I did for what it was. Like, I didn't think it was amazing. But the parts I liked about it, I really liked. The parts I didn't like were not good, but...
Yeah, I don't know. They got I think they basically outsmarted themselves when they tried to get really tricky with time travel, with flashbacks, with, I'm going to hypnotize you so you're here, but you're also in the... Like, I think they tried to do too much. They Inceptioned it.
Yeah.
Inception is a great concept, but they went one or too many layers too deep, and that's when they lost me in that movie. I basically think the whole X-Men thing Inceptioned itself. And then it just got crap at the end. So I had a lot of forgiveness for Dark Phoenix, because it was trying to exist in something that was already kind of dead. It was trying to be somewhat exciting, even though the audience knows that nothing is going to come from it. So it had a really hard job to do. It put out something passable. Like you say, Sophie Turner was good. She kind of became a firework at the end, which is weird. And yeah, the X-Men we're going to talk about in a little bit. But yeah, next one in line, Disney Plus, fall 2021, is the Hawkeye series. Jeremy Renner's got his own show.
And he's going to have the second Hawkeye is going to be in it.
Kate Bishop
is going to be in it. And if they do it like the comics, it's kind of like, you didn't see Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
No, I did not.
Have you? Well,
I literally have to pull it off my shelf and watch it, but yeah, no, I haven't done that yet.
The dynamic of Miles Morales and Peter Parker in there is kind of like, they have a kind of like, without spoiling it too much, they have kind of a like, he's the grizzled, like, kind of jaded hero who's been doing this forever, so he's like, what the fuck ever. And he's like the new one who's still bright-eyed and bushy-tailed kind of thing.
So the Spider-Man equivalent of Old Man Logan.
Less gritty. It's more like the Spider-Man equivalent of those old, like, I guess they are cop shows where, like, there's a new young rookie and he gets paired with.
Okay.
A grizzled vet, and he's like, oh, fuck, I'm too old for this shit.
So just get Danny Glover in there and we're fine.
Yeah, basically. And that's kind of the dynamic within the, and like, Hawkeye's like, I wouldn't say goofy, but he's like she's having to clean up his mess a lot of the times, like he fucks up.
Okay.
She's like, hang on, I got this, old man.
I mean, that's cool. I'm
That's
not familiar with the timeline.
What this is gonna be.
Again, this is a little bit of a flashback, a little bit of a wedge in between, because it's the time period between Infinity War and Endgame. So it's going to be him training Kate Bishop Hawkeye, but it's also going to be like how he ended up being the Ronin character.
How he ends up, making
Being a
a living
killer.
just murdering people.
Yeah, like smoking some shit. I don't know. Like, again, it could be good. Jeremy Renner's one of those ones where it's like, I don't really need to know what the story is going to be. I mean, like you say, you got the Kate Bishop angle. They've sort of given us the timeline. We know what he ended up being, so we know where we're going. So again, it's one of those Gotham situations. But Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye is just one of those characters. I'll just watch him because, again, much like Scarlet Witch, much like Black Widow that we talked about in the beginning, I'm going to watch them out of curiosity mostly because these characters have been around for a long time and the focus has never been on them. So it's really, really got this overwhelming feeling of being overdue. So that even if there are flaws in it, even if it does kind of fall down a little bit, that anticipation for this thing that we said should have happened ages ago, it'll carry it through. Now, whether Kate Bishop goes on to be Hawkeye in the new, whatever the next Avengers thing is, that's got to be seen because, we're going to have the new Black Widow, we've got the new Captain America, we're going to have the new Hawkeye, we're going to have something else.
Well, I think they're both, in the comics, they're both Hawkeye, which is a little confusing, but...
Well, it's like, what's her name? Natasha Romanoff and Yelena Benova are both Black Widows.
I feel like you definitely pronounced it wrong that time.
Yeah. I don't know what the pronunciation is because I don't know if I have it even spelled in my notes correctly. So I'm mispronouncing a misspelling, and it's 25 to 1 in the morning. It's fine. When this goes up, it's probably going to go up on Sunday. It's not going to be 25 to 1 in the morning, so just giving you guys context for why I'm rambling.
All right, let's finish up then.
No, we got quite a bit to go still. We got...
so tired.
We got...
Let's go.
We got the one that I initially freaked out at, because I'm an asshole, and then I took my opinion back and developed another one, which apparently makes me just as much of an asshole. Thor, Love, and Thunder.
What's this one going to be about?
Oh, you don't know what Thor, Love, and Thunder?
Oh, the female... Oh, this is going to have the female Thor in it.
Yep.
I'm into it. Just because it was a big deal in the comics. Well, when it came out in the comics, it was a real big deal, too, because a lot of people felt that Marvel was just like... It was the same time that, like, the Ironheart thing, the little black girl making herself an Iron Man suit, is the same time that Falcon became Captain America. Like, so a lot of, especially, like...
It's almost like SJWs are running entertainment. Anyways, I said I had a shitty thought, and then I took it back, right? Because I acknowledge that I'm an asshole, and I acknowledge that the world around me has made me an asshole. The very first thing I heard about all this is they're gonna do female Thor. And I'm like, fuck. Because I'm living in a world where... Okay, suddenly the Ghostbusters have to be all girls. Suddenly the Oceans characters have to be all girls. Suddenly 007, not James Bond, but 007 needs to be a girl. This is going to be a girl. That's going to be a girl. The person that trained Captain Marvel, who was a dude in the comics, became a girl. And it's just this overhanging trend that I don't always want to talk about, but it's always kind of there. So when I heard about this, I was like, fuck off. Then, I remembered a conversation you and I had about a year ago, because somebody had made some joke about casting Charlotte Flair as Thor, and you're like, well, actually, there is this female Thor storyline in the comics, and I went and I looked it up and whatever. Totally took back my opinion. Totally took back my fuck off. But I developed an fuck off in a different way, because if Jane Foster's becoming Thor, that means we get Natalie Portman back. And Natalie Portman isn't a badass.
In the comics, it's because Jane Foster
gets cancer.
She develops like some sort of cancer, and when she's Thor, that's the only time the cancer isn't like killing her, basically.
And see, I've heard the opposite. I've heard that when she becomes Thor, it pushes all her chemotherapy out and enhances the cancer and ends up killing her. Like, she's in chemo as a regular everyday...
Actually, you might be right. I may have pulled that directly out of my ass. Like, no, you are completely right on that. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Go on.
I'm only going from what I've heard, so please take it with like the biggest grain of salt ever. But my problem is not the typical problem that I have with Hollywood right now, which is very definitely still a thing. It's just, in this case, and especially with all the other badass women that we've already talked about in Marvel who are absolutely badass. I'm going to look at Denai Guerrera's character in Black Panther as one example. But Natalie Portman is not a badass. I'm sorry.
Well, and my thing is, canonically, Mjolnir's gone. And that's what ends up happening is that, so Thor ends up getting a Stormbreaker at some point because he, at some point...
he loses Mjolnir to Beta Ray Bill in the comics, does he not?
He doesn't lose it to him, but Beta Ray Bill does use Mjolnir at some point, and he then gets a version kind of like Mjolnir at one point, but isn't Mjolnir. Thor at some point, Nick Fury tells Thor something, and I don't remember if we ever find out what that is. Nick Fury whispers something to Thor, and just having that whatever knowledge Nick Fury gave him
makes him unworthy
to hold the hammer.
I've heard a really Cole's Notes version of what it is, and it's something to do with Fury, who's already running S.H.I.E.L.D., trying to run S.W.O.R.D. in space as well, so he ends up working a lot more closely with Thor. Thor holds himself to the standards of all the gods that came before him, and Fury finds out something about the gods that came before Thor, that they were corrupt. So Thor basically thinks, okay, all these people that I've looked up to and emulated myself after are corrupt. I guess that means I'm corrupt too, like, because I followed the wrong people.
Yes.
It's something along those lines. I'm explaining it really badly.
No, that makes sense.
But basically, Mjolnir goes and finds, somebody new that's worthy, and on the side of the hammer, this is where I kind of cringed a little bit, because this is a bit cheesy. But
whether she be worthy.
Yeah, whether he be worthy, and then you just see an S appear, and I'm like, oh, come on. And I've actually seen...
You notice how in the MCU, when he, when Anthony Hopkins, when Odin places that spell on the Mjolnir,
whenever
it says whether
they
be worthy.
It's just, yeah. I mean, it sucks that we have to, be that careful with our words, but that's one of those situations where it's like, yeah, let's be careful with our words. Because you get to this, and if all of a sudden, where it says he, there's an S being carved in, there's going to be some jackass, like me, but a little less educated, that's going to be like, that's fucking whatever. So, I think
my thing is, and it's probably, for a lot of these, and I probably should have brought it up when we were talking about the big female scene. There's this new surge of people wanting to be represented in movies and stuff, almost to not a great extent at some point.
Obnoxious extents, yeah.
It can be obnoxious extents, like for example, and was it Scarlett Johansson? No. Yes? I don't remember.
I don't know what you're talking about, so I can't answer you.
Well, I'm trying to think. She was in the Ghost in the Shell.
Yes,
movie.
this is my prime
movie.
example. This is my prime example because she's
so there
apparently
was a
the
lot
wrong race to play a robot. Fuck off.
Okay, so there's a big brouhaha about that, and because of the big brouhaha about that, there was another movie that she was going to do where she played
A transgender person.
A transgender person. And, because of the brouhaha of all that, she ended up leaving that script and essentially saying, like, I feel like this should go to that. And then they just didn't end up making the movie at all. So, there's a transgender story that won't be told now because of the fact that, somebody got shamed out of it. So I see kind of both sides of it because as a female, and this will be not as big a story, but my favorite TV show when I was a young kid was Power Rangers.
Yep.
I didn't like the pink or the yellow Ranger because I wasn't like the Pink Ranger because she was like girly and whatever.
Basically a Barbie doll.
Yes. And I wasn't really the Yellow Ranger either because she was like this really smart, like math geeky girl, which then I ended up being at some point. So I never wanted to be any of those.
Right.
So I would end up like wanting to, I think I went Halloween as like the Red Ranger or something like that.
Yeah, but see, here's my thing. Like,
that's not a great example because it did have females in that kind of point, but
But they weren't female characters that spoke to you.
Yes.
But see, here's my point, and this is where
I understand it, but I feel like instead of changing male characters into that, we should just have less lame female characters, like
But the thing is, they're out there.
Women in Black Panther.
But like especially in the comic book realm, and this is what I'm starting to love about it. There's more diversity in like some of these comic book stories than there are in general entertainment. Anyways, it's just who we decide to tap. My thing is, recently, you know me, I don't watch much of the CW DC shows.
DC stuff.
But you know what I will be watching for sure is Batwoman.
Is the Batwoman with Ruby Rose.
With Ruby, okay, because I am biased and Ruby Rose can do no wrong. That's a separate issue, right? And she is a strong female character and she is a lesbian in the show. Now, if you want to talk about like representation as far as like an LGBT thing, okay, you've got this character that apparently is a lesbian in the comics. I don't know, I don't read the comics, but whatever.
She is.
Okay, but regardless, as far as I know, she is. So how do you work towards representation for the LGBT community? And I have nothing against the LGBT community. Most of my close friends are somewhere on the rainbow, as they say. But is it better to all of a sudden one day just decide, okay, we don't have enough representation. I think randomly we decide to make Black Widow a lesbian? Or do you shine a spotlight on a character that already is? Like, take a character that already is, and that's an essence of their character, and you start them from scratch, and not only are you creating a new character, adding to the pathos of, comic entertainment as a whole, but, like, you're not just shoehorning something in to please somebody. The other example I will give, and, I've already attacked gender, I've already attacked LGBT, so we'll do the color thing now. About 2 years ago, there was this big thing when Henry Cavill said he wasn't going to be Spider-Man anymore. Or not Spider-Man, Superman.
Superman anymore.
And they were saying who should be the new Superman, and everybody was saying Michael B. Jordan. And I like Michael B. Jordan. I think he was great as Killmonger. I think he was great in Creed, and whatever. But no. And the same argument was made. And I was, it would be a great step forward for representation. I'm like, no, you know what a great step forward for representation was? Somebody who's never been in film before and now has an awesome spotlight was Black Panther. And you didn't have to change, and you didn't have to shoehorn, and you didn't have to do...
Actually, there is a black Superman.
Okay, well, no, but, like, is it Clark Kent, though?
No, it is not.
No, like, they wanted Michael B. Jordan to be the new Clark Kent.
There is a black Superman, but he's from a different Earth.
Okay, and that's fair. And if you wanted to do that,
also, funny enough, in that Earth, he's also president.
So it's Super Obama, basically.
Yeah, basically, it was written around the same time, I think.
I think it's amazing that Barack
another
Obama
black
is in the
superhero
Flashpoint
called
movie.
the Man of Steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. There's another. He's just called Steel, who's a black character as well.
But see, the thing
But
is,
there actually is a black Superman, but he's from another Earth.
and that Superman probably fought with our Superman at some point.
I'm not sure where the crossover is.
But like instead of just deciding one day that Peter Parker was black, they brought up Miles Morales. They said, let's shine a light on this character that already exists. Let's not just make it we put Spider-Man into the face swap app. And I just think you can do inclusion. Inclusion is important. I never want to say that inclusion is not important, but do it in a way that everybody wins. Don't do it in a way where your inclusion comes at the expense of another demographic. I think that's my point. And that's where you get the Oceans remake, it's going to be all women, and the Ghostbusters remake, it's going to be all women, and we're going to bring John Connor's mom back to life so that we can have an all-girl Terminator. That's where it gets.
Is that a thing that's going to be a thing?
Look it up. Terminator.
I guess I haven't been keeping up.
Terminator Dark Fate. It's a thing. And
okay.
What's her name, who died 3 movies ago, they're bringing her back so that they can push out her son, who is the main focus of the arc for 6 movies, for the, let's do a girl version agenda, which sucks because it doesn't help anybody. As I say, I go back to Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, amazing. Let's elbow out John Connor and make his dead mom the new focus of the 7th movie in a series that's dying. Doesn't help anybody. Anyways, but Thor: Love and Thunder. So I don't really like the idea. I like if we're going to explore the Jane Foster as Thor thing, it's one of the rare times in the MCU timeline that I wouldn't mind them recasting a character. Because Natalie Portman's not a badass. You know who is a badass?
I guess who?
You know who is a badass? King Valkyrie.
King Valkyrie is a badass.
Tessa Thompson is coming back to play Valkyrie. Valkyrie is going to be called King Valkyrie because King Valkyrie is looking for a queen within Asgard. So we are, in the whole conversation about representation and all that, which is awesome, we are doing a little bit of a nod to the LGBT community, which is great. Tessa Thompson as Valkyrie is fucking amazing. In our talking about Endgame, I wish they had timed out things a little bit differently. I wish Thor had handed Asgard to Valkyrie before the battle, because I would have loved to see Valkyrie lead the Asgard army into the fight. Just like Denai Guerrero's character could have done with the Dora Milaje.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would have been really, really badass. I really like her. I think they could have made her Thor, but that's not how the story goes. We sort of talked...
I mean, most of the time we can talk about the MCU. They do pull stuff from the comics, but I think what's great about, the idea of the MCU and the idea of comics kind of in general is the fact that you're this is a separate universe.
This is how it happens in this version. Yeah.
Yes, you could just... So you could have her be Thor God of Thunder at some point.
The heavy implication is going to be that her queen is going to be Jane Foster, which is, I think, if I want to be nice... That's a weird thing, because unless Jane Foster, her relationship with Thor went so poorly that she decided, I'm just going to give women a chance at this point. I mean, here's the thing, though, and I kind of thought the same thing, but the whole point was... somebody made the argument, and again, this was over on the Emergency Awesome channel, which you guys should really check out because it's great. The argument was made, if she's the king of Asgard and she's been handed that from Thor, because Thor would have inherited Asgard as the king, but he handed that mantle on to Valkyrie. Why could he not also pass on the mantle of Thor, the Thor force? And the point was, when Odin ruled, he was the king. He had Thor there to fight his battles. He was father-son. You could do the same thing, have a king running the country and his queen defending it. Like there is the two halves of the story element there,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't totally hate that.
I'll be interested to see what they do with it, because so far there hasn't been a thing. I mean, we can all agree that Thor Dark World was not good. It was not good at all.
Dark World was better than the first one.
I would disagree. I like the first one a lot more.
First one is I go back to watch it and I kind of cringe, because the Marvel movies, as different as they are and as different they are in theme and genre and all that sort of thing, the Marvel as a whole does have a feeling, and that feeling isn't in the first Thor movie, in my opinion. I think it's a little bland.
Well, until Ragnarok, the Thor movies kind of shtick was it was a little bland.
But you see, like, the Thor movies have an unsung hero in them, in the form of Kat Dennings, who's awesome, just because she's hilarious. And, yeah, I think she's funnier in the second one, because, like, when they're all out there and they find
she gets more screen time in the second one.
She gets more screen time, but she's also like, hey, so we're just checking out portals in the rain now. Hey, okay. Alright, cool. Hey, big guy. Like, she's the one you want to see become Thor, not Natalie Portman. If you give me Kat Dennings as Thor, every single thing I just said against it is gone. Actually, you know what? When she's done being Batwoman, bring Ruby Rose over. She can be like steampunk Thor. It'll be good. The only other thing that I wonder about this, and then we are going to get off of this one because it is there's a lot more like individual like controversial talking points or whatever, but it does feel like it's going to be a very female heavy, like female like empowering type movie, because King Valkyrie is going to be in it. They're going to try their best to make Jane Foster into a badass. This, if anything, would be the time to bring back Lady Sif. And
did we ever address what happened to her? I know that she's in she did at one point show up in
Shield.
In Agents of Shield.
Well, she was in the first two movies. She wasn't in the third. She showed up on Shield, and then she kind of like went away again. But I think that's okay. I think because we're so sprawling now, and like MCU is so Easter egg filled, like you could have this entire movie go on, and wherever Asgard goes from here, like you could end the entire movie with some big happy ending, and then like one of the post-credit scenes being like Lady Sif walking back into the kingdom and like wanting to rejoin the army or whatever, and then Thor 5, look at us, we all have hammers and vaginas, can have her leading the... that was really terrible.
I was just going to let you stew on that one.
Yeah, I'm an asshole. It's a thing. But, like, then you lead into the next one with, like, her being one of the main key players of their army under the tutelage of potentially Natalie Portman Thor and King Valkyrie. Like, that would be alright. That would be really good. And this one isn't something I heard from anybody else. I'm just like, okay, we're doing a lot with the ladies in this movie. It could be really good. It would be even better if you threw Lady Sif in there. I don't know. Again, in the realm of characters that were in the background and never really got a fair shot. So that, right there, is the end of Phase 4. It's the end of things that we have concrete dates for. Which brings us to the slight topic of this is the first full Marvel phase that will not have an Assemble movie in it. Like Avengers 2, Avengers Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, Endgame. Most of these things capped off particular phases in the Marvel grand scheme as a whole. There is no Avengers movie in Phase 4. I think there's two reasons for this.
Okay.
A, the next big team-up movie that you do is going to have to be huge, because it's going to be the first total gathering since Infinity War and Endgame. Anything else that's not the next. I'm thinking it's going to be like either Secret Invasion or the Kree Skrull War or something along those lines. But the other thing is, the next big Avengers movie is going to be the movie that underlines Iron Man's not here anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, in all this cool shit that we've just talked about in this phase, there isn't anything in here that particularly fills the void of Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man.
Well, I mean, I don't think that it's supposed to. Like, I think that's the point within the storyline as it is, that, like, Iron Man's how a lot of this started. Like, he was, well, minus Captain America, because, you know, that was back in the day, but he was kind of like the first one to start all of this.
Yeah, he was the real first Avenger. No, it's true though. Like, he is he's the light bulb that that all these other flies sort of came and flew around.
I mean, this whole Marvel Cinematic Universe
exists because of Iron Man.
1, had Iron Man 1 not been as good as everybody like thought it would be, and it was good not because everybody was expecting it to be good. It was good because
everybody expected it to fall on its face.
Yes. They thought it was going to be shit because, you know, comic book movies were kind of like that at that point.
Well, the idea of having anything connected was really, really bad. And every Marvel property that was well known that they thought could have made any money was owned by somebody else. So there was almost a little bit of an underdog from their point of view, from like Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. and Kevin Feige's point of view. They had a real underdog mentality going into it. So I picture them as being like the Paul Heymans of the movie world. So like everybody out there is looking past us. Let's prove them wrong type thing. And I really like that idea because anything that comes out now makes Iron Man 1 better.
I believe so.
Because everything that comes after it makes you have more reverence for that first movie. Because as you say, to your point, and your point's exactly true, without Iron Man, there's none of this.
If that had done that, just like what happened to the DC kind of cinematic universe.
Well, they started with Superman. That was their problem.
Yes. Had Iron Man been fucking shitty, we maybe would have had a Captain America. We maybe would have had, you know, one or two of these other movies, but we definitely wouldn't have had Avengers.
Yeah, they wouldn't have tried the first team up. I don't think they would have taken risks on stuff like Ant-Man or Guardians of the Galaxy, because those were kind of fringy. Like, you had to tell me what those were, because I didn't know. I had a vague idea. Like, if you watch shows like Big Bang Theory, you've got a vague idea of who, like, Thor and the Hulk and Iron Man are. But, like, some of the characters we've had come along since, like, I didn't know who Captain Marvel was. I didn't know who Doctor Strange or the Guardians of the Galaxy were. Black Panther, sure, whatever. Don't ask me what a Ragnarok is.
It's the Norse mythology end of the world.
Okay, do I look or sound like somebody who's studied legitimate Norse mythology?
No, but I was filling you in.
There we go.
Because I did, for a second.
For a hot minute there?
Yeah, for a hot minute there.
But yeah, no, like, in real life, like, behind-the-scenes movie talk, if there's no Iron Man, there's no Avengers. But also, like, from an audience point of view, like, if we had any other character as our introduction to it, I don't think it would have worked, because we said this in the big long video that we did. As much as Tony Stark is a millionaire and a tech genius and all the things that I'm not, he's still the most human character. Like, you can't really get an introduction to a series through, you know, the army kid that grew up in the 50s and got juiced up with, like, all kinds of mutagenic shit. You can't really get an introduction to the universe from a god.
My God. I rewatched Age of Ultron a couple nights ago, which I liked it. A lot of people didn't, but I think it just wasn't as big as the first one, basically. Anyway, sorry. The part where they were talking about, you know, they're talking about the Maximoff kids and you know,
he's fast and she's weird.
He's fast and she's weird. And then they said something about, talking about them being enhanced and whatever. And Captain America, as he's getting into the elevator, goes, yeah, because who would let a German scientist experiment them for their country?
It's good. It's a good
What
bit,
a monster! Yeah. What monster would let a German scientist experiment on them to defend their country?
Yeah. But no, like, to the point of, though, like, of the first, like, yes, I know, technically...
You're right.
Technically,
Captain
there are...
America, you couldn't have started the MCU with Captain America.
Or Hulk or Thor.
Because most people wouldn't identify Captain America, wouldn't be able... Because, Captain America is the ultimate good guy. He's kind of what most heroes, like, aspire to be. Even though he has his kind of own, like, not moral ambiguity, but his own, like, struggles. It's not the same as Tony Stark, who, like, in the comics has this, like, huge alcohol problem. In the movies has this, like, riddling, even though he's this genius that everybody looks up to, he has these riddling moments of, like, self-doubt and whether he's doing the right thing or not. And sometimes he tries to do the right thing and it ends up getting fucked up like in Ultron, but sometimes he does the right thing and the Avengers happen.
This is true. We were supposed to have a belt around the world.
Yes, a suit of armor around the world.
Yeah. I do like, since we didn't really get a chance to talk about Endgame, I do like when he did come back to them after being out in space, and, like, it's not really a nice reunion at first, and he kind of, like, snaps on everybody, because it's like everybody else has been on Earth for a while, and they've been, like, not dealing well, but dealing. He's been dealing at a distance, stuck on a broken spaceship with Nebula.
With Nebula, yeah.
And then he just goes and, like, fucks, I told you we needed a suit of armor around the world, da-da-da-da. And you said we were going to lose together. Well, we did. And I'm like, yes, Captain America's a douche. I don't know. I don't know, because whether anybody wants to admit it or not, Tony Stark was sort of the de facto leader of the Avengers. I'm really curious to see who the leader of the Avengers is now.
Again, in Age of Ultron, where Maria Hill comes in and she goes, "Here, boss," and he goes, "Oh, no, he's in charge," pointing to Cap. I just, make everybody look really cool and pay
fight
for
well,
everything, and build all the technology and all that. But yeah, he's in charge.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm kind of curious, like, as the characters as we have right now, who would you have as their leader? Because right now I would have to go with either Doctor Strange or Black Panther.
If I'm pulling from comics, it's Captain Marvel.
But is she on, like, her whole thing is, like, I'm going to leave you guys here to defend Earth and be the Avengers because I'm going to go defend everywhere else.
Like I said, if I were pulling from the comics.
Oh no, I'm saying literally based on the cinematic world as it is right now. Same thing, same answer?
Same answer.
Okay. It would be kind of cool if, because unofficially Spider-Man is the new Iron Man because everything he has is basically an Iron Spider suit, if they totally subvert expectations and somehow Spider-Man is actually the leader of the Avengers. They could play... I don't think that would be a thing long term, but as a story arc, that's something they could play around with if they were careful with it. Anyways, so there is no Avengers movie to look forward to in Phase 4, but we do know a lot of what is going to happen in Phase 5. The first two I'm not going to spend too much time on, just because I think they're both just going to be follow-up movies, and that's Captain Marvel 2 and Black Panther 2. I really don't know what they're doing with either of them. Black Panther, I'm kind of bummed that they're doing the Falcon Winter Soldier thing, because I would love to see more of White Wolf in Wakanda with Black Panther. White Wolf and Black Panther maybe taking on some mystical something or other. I don't know. Somebody steals the heart-shaped herb and they power themselves up as some big evil Black Panther. I don't really know. But Guardians of the Galaxy 3. where we got to sort of tie up the story with the Sovereign. We got to get the debut of Adam Warlock. Potentially, Star-Lord is out looking for Gamora, even though, as you mentioned, it's not the Gamora that knows him. So that's weird.
Yeah, it's one from the past, before she met him.
So he's basically going and chasing a girl that doesn't know him, but he loves her. So that's, if they decide to include that, that's a weird little side story. But we left off with Volume 2 with, I can't think of the girl's name, the head woman of the Sovereign, basically like growing Adam Warlock in a big golden casket. But there's a big question now whether we're going to get what we thought we were going to get at the end of Endgame, which was like Asgardians of the Galaxy, because Thor was with them. But then Thor obviously separates from them at some point to go and do Thor Love and Thunder, because they are sequential, like from Endgame to Thor Love and Thunder to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Those are happening in that order. So I think what we thought we were getting, we're not getting, unless he returns to them at some other point. I don't know much about the Adam Warlock character. If you do, please feel free to jump in.
I don't know as much about the Adam Warlock character.
I know that he's a bad guy and at some point becomes a good guy. The Sovereign were not exactly characters that I miss from the last Guardians movie. They're just a bunch of people painted in gold that play in their little robotic ships and whatever.
That are douchebags.
Yeah, and they're all I guess they're supposed to be like the sci-fi metaphor for like affluent society and all that sort of thing. If you want to get into like the morality of sci-fi movies and all that, which is a cool thing to play with, but it's also pretty one-dimensional and probably could have been dealt with in one movie. Now I'm excited. Once again. We talked about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, talked about them experimenting with the horror genre, pushing as far as they can without being R-rated. Where they might go R-rated is with the reboot of Blade.
Wesley Snipes is not going to be in it.
No. Apparently, he's going to have a small hand in the creative process, though.
That's good.
Because as soon as he was offered the role, Mahershala Ali, who is the guy that's playing the new Blade, basically reached out to Wesley Snipes as a form of respect for being the previous guy. Kind of like when we talk about wrestlers, like, you know, somebody wants to use the figure 4, like if they reached out to Ric Flair and said, I'd like to put this in my repertoire, like, do I have your blessing type thing? And Wesley Snipes wrote this big long piece on Twitter, just like, you know, addressing his fans, you know, thanks for the attention, rah, thanks for backing me up, even though it's not me, I'm still hoping that it's successful. So they had this really long exchange of mutual respect, but Mahershala Ali is kind of an interesting choice, because one of the jokes, and we're going to talk Fantastic Four in a second, but one of the jokes is the fact that Chris Evans has played one of the Fantastic Four, and he's played Captain America. So maybe they killed Captain America so he can come back and play the Fantastic Four guy
Absolutely
again.
Not.
Well, absolutely not, but it's just the whole, like, double up people that have played more than one. It's like Peter Dinklage has played more than one Marvel character. Mahershala Ali, for those of you that watched the Luke Cage series on Netflix, Mahershala Ali was the guy that played Cottonmouth in Luke Cage.
Okay.
I thought he was good in that. I haven't seen him in anything before that, but I think it's an interesting take. I love that we're getting Blade back in any iteration. People that know me know that I like vampire movies in general. The only vampire series that I refuse to have on my shelf is Twilight, for obvious reasons. And this goes back to the conversation you and I had about Thor Ragnarok, where they talked about the 3-tipped spear, which is only good if you're fighting 3 vampires in a row. And everybody's like, hey, maybe they're bringing Blade in. And we all laughed about that at the time, and now here we are with Blade. Experimenting with R-rated, maybe. Only real thing I have to say about that is look what it did for Logan. I doubt they're going to go that far. The other thing is, though, when you're getting into Blade, you're kind of getting into like anti-hero territory, and based on the potential success of Blade, we may also get Ghost Rider and Punisher.
That would be interesting, but I'm also one of those people, as bad as the movie was, kind of like the Nicolas Cage Ghost Runner for how awful it was.
And see, here's the
Because
thing,
of
and
its
here's where I'll give a shout out to Shield, even though they are really cheesy.
Their Ghost Rider was really good.
I like their young, because it wasn't Johnny Blaze. It was the guy that was Ghost Rider after Johnny Blaze. I wouldn't mind a not Nicolas Cage MCU canon Ghost Rider. Punisher is the one.
You know what's even better than the Ghost Rider movie itself is watching Nostalgia Critic tear down the Ghost Rider movie.
Oh my god!
Nicolas Cage.
Same thing with CinemaSins. That's another movie you guys, or another video channel you guys should check out. By the way, if you haven't checked out CinemaSins, do it. It's just this guy. He just takes the piss out of movies, and it's hilarious. But it's like he's watching the movie with you and pointing out all the things that don't make sense. They're only about 15 minutes long. They're great. The only thing
My favorite part. Go ahead.
The only thing I will say is if we're going to reboot Blade, if we're going to reboot Ghost Rider, we're going to have to, because they weren't canon with the rest of the MCU proper. The Netflix shows, it was a very loose connection, but the Netflix shows did connect to the movies. They did connect to the MCU.
Yes.
They did address the issues or whatever. I would love them to continue on John Bernthal's Punisher into the MCU. I think that would be fucking amazing. I don't know if they'll do it, but I really don't know if they'll do it, but I hope they do at some point, because John Bernthal is just going to waste now, because I don't know what he's doing now. He was great in Walking Dead. He played a great asshole. He played a great asshole good guy in this. I think you could get Blade, Ghost Rider, and Punisher together to just have like this team of like anti-hero assholes that everybody doesn't like, but it's at the same time it's like, well, they saved us, so we can't really say anything. Like this really, really like asshole version of the Avengers. I think that would be fantastic. Not that it's going to happen ever, but it is what it is. And the last thing they dropped on us before they sort of pieced out was just the confirmation that, yes, we will be doing Fantastic Four. Yes, we will be dealing with... And they never said the X-Men. They just said we will be dealing with the mutants. And that's Kevin Feige, you know, doing his old wink and a nod thing. Yeah. So we are pretty fucking good into, like, late 2025 with everything we've just talked about.
There is going to be a lot of stuff.
We're gonna have to do this more often if this is how much shit we're gonna get. I mean, I don't see you and I coming together to do like weekly show reviews, but right now, looking at this, I could see us getting back together to review Black Widow, Doctor Strange, if it doesn't scare you. I'm an asshole. Thor: Love and Thunder, and probably Blade are ones that I'm going to want to review.
Okay.
Because these are a lot of fun. Now, since we're talking about movie reviews, and because we are going to go in less than 2 minutes, I promise, have you seen the movie Top Gun? The original?
Yes, I've seen Top Gun.
Okay, the amount of people that haven't is staggering to me, so it's a fair question. Your reaction to the fact that we're finally getting a sequel?
I think it's one of those sequels that is like almost too far overdue kind of thing, where it's like the audience for this is like
gone.
I wouldn't say gone, but definitely not as big as it could have been.
I don't know. It's huge.
It's a total. I feel like it's a total nostalgia grab, and
yeah.
I hope it's good, but I don't feel like it is. Like, I feel like it's going to be very similar to the second Independence Day.
Aw, you didn't like that?
No.
The fact that they had to write the fact that they had to write one script with Will Smith in it and one script with Will Smith not in it.
In it, yes. Oh,
I don't know.
I wonder why it wasn't good.
I grew up on Top Gun because my dad loved that movie. And I could probably, if you put the movie on and gave me like the first couple of seconds of the movie, I could probably quote the whole movie. It's like the original Michael Keaton Batman. Like, if Tim Burton ever got to finally do the Batman 3 that he wanted to do, I don't care if Michael Keaton is there in a walker. I'm going to go watch it, and it's going to be like, this is my childhood right here. So I am super hyped.
And I think that's what they are hoping for.
With Top Gun. It's 34 years in the making. 34.
You're not a video game guy, are you?
Not really, no.
I was gonna say, well, for anybody in the audience that is, it screams of Duke Nukem Forever to me.
Oh no.
A video game that they spent years trying to make. And then when they finally made it, it was just like there.
It was just like Star Wars with all the lightsabers.
Yeah, basically. Like, so that's what I think. I hope it's good, just because, you know, I don't want stuff to be bad. I especially don't want stuff that, like, a lot of people love to be bad. But I'm just prepared.
It's very strange, because I'm not a huge fan of Tom Cruise. And the more we go through life, the more we hear what, like, a strange, weird dude he is. But, like, Top Gun was, like, the one Tom Cruise movie that's like, alright, Tom Cruise is a badass. So, he's coming back to be that character again. And it's like, to your point, they did, what was it, Independence Day, and then 20 years later, they did Independence Day 2, and everybody looked old. And everybody was kind of already old in Top Gun, except for Tom Cruise himself. So you see the preview for the new Top Gun Maverick, and everybody they didn't get any older, they just stayed old. It made me laugh a whole bunch, and they're like...
it made everyone sad.
Like the Graveyard Dogs.
Yes, like Graveyard Dog, it made everyone real sad.
There's a shout out for the wrestling fans that are watching this. We've been doing this for quite a while now. Like, it's tired in here.
2 hours is my max for this kind of thing before I start fading.
No, it's not. We've done 3.5.
I know, and did you hear me at the end of that?
Did you hear me at the end of that? I think by the time Phase 5 comes around, and we actually do get the next big Avengers-level movie, I think we should do another From Iron Man to Now.
Go fuck yourself.
That's not nice. Anyways, I think
that is insanity.
I think we've legitimately rambled everything we possibly could. Black Widow, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, Eternals, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, WandaVision, Loki, What If, Hawkeye, Thor, Love and Thunder, no Avengers, Captain Marvel 2, Black Panther 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Blade,
Go ahead.
Blade, Fantastic Four, and something with the X-Men. If somebody says, look at that entire list and tell me the one thing you're looking forward to, what do you pick?
Let's see.
Because mine's Doctor Strange.
I'm going to be a little lame, and mine's going to be the second Black Panther movie, because the first one was so good.
That's fair. That's really fair. I really thought you were going to say Thor.
What this list shows me is that if there's going to be at least one of those things that any individual person will like in there, because there's a lot of variety.
Oh yeah. And I mean, just the amount of actor talent that's involved in the MCU now is insane. Is absolutely ridiculous. Like, I was trying to talk to somebody a while ago, and this is I promise this is actually the last thing I'm going to say before we go. And this is before Endgame came around. But it was like, well, I don't really, like, want to devote my whole life to catching up on all these movies. But, like, they're very actor-specific. Like, they will see a movie just because an actor is in it. And it's just like, well, who's in the MCU so far, and this is a very incomplete list. Robert Downey Jr., Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, Samuel L. Jackson, Paul Bettany, Scarlett Johansson, Gwyneth Paltrow, Don Cheadle, Jon Favreau, Tom Hiddleston, Idris Elba, Anthony Mackie, Tom Holland, Jeremy Renner, Dave Bautista, Chadwick Boseman, Josh Brolin, Tommy Lee Jones, Bradley Cooper, Benedict Cumberbatch, Vin Diesel, Elizabeth Olsen, Chris Pratt, Paul Rudd, Marissa Tomei, Michael Douglas, Denai Guerrera, Anthony Hopkins, Natalie Portman, Rene Russo, Benicio del Toro, Kat Dennings, Martin Freeman, Brie Larson, Ross Marquand, Michelle Pfeiffer, Robert Redford, Michael Rooker, Tilda Swinton, Tessa Thompson, Annette Bening, Kate Blanchett, Benjamin Bratt, Jeff Bridges, Glenn Close, Peter Dinklage, Lawrence Fishburne, Donald Glover, Jeff Goldblum, Jake Gyllenhaal, Terrence Howard, Michael B. Jordan, Michael Keaton, Jude Law, Edward Norton, Lupita Nyong'o, Guy Pearce, John C. Reilly, Mickey Rourke, Kurt Russell, Sylvester Stallone, Stanley Tucci, Liv Tyler, and Forrest Whitaker.
That's a lot.
That's most of Hollywood that's still functioning. And that's not including, adding people like Angelina Jolie, adding people like Salma Hayek, adding people like, where's his name? Mahershala Ali. It's a monster, and that's why it took us 2 hours to talk about it. And we're going to be talking about it for a while. We're not going to review everything, but I do want to put a conscious
Just what we feel like.
Yeah, no, we're not going to get a chance to review everything, but I do want to put a concerted effort into doing a little bit more movie content on here, which means you're going to be dragged along for the ride a lot.
Woohoo!
Anyways, before I get off onto another tangent, tell them where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter at BlackCatFeline. You can find me on Instagram at BlackCatFeline.
Taking pictures of bridges. And
Taking pictures of bridges and cows.
And you know where to find me, or you wouldn't be here. I can't do my normal, regular intro because this isn't a wrestling video. But guys, thanks for listening. If you've lasted this long, please put something down in the bottom, said like made it to the end or something like that. I know for a fact Strife19 is probably going to do that. So shout out to Strife19 again. Shout out to Emergency Awesome and What Culture, which are where I got all this information from. You should go check all of them out and tell them that I sent you there. I've been Spaz. I hope you guys have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever you're listening to this. And I will talk to you guys all later. Thank you, Kristen. Talk to you guys later.
Bye.